I do it by habit.
You know, I DJ for 10 years, so it's one of those things. I see headphones, I'll start putting them on.
There you go. So no more DJing?
No, I'm too old for that.
Too, never too old to punt.
No.
Shirley, you good?
I am good.
Okay. Did you hit the audition button over there? Anybody?
I believe
Yes,
it.
you're good to
Yeah.
go.
All right.
So if you don't hit that button, if you start talking, will you be on the radio, like over what's already playing?
No, it'll just be hearing what's on the radio instead of us on the feed.
Okay.
All right. We are here on a Tuesday afternoon with a couple of Pirate specialists. Our guy, A-Harp, Alex Harper.
What's up?
Good to see you, A-Harp. Appreciate your work on the video side of things. Shirley Rhodes here as well. And we welcome in our special guest, East Carolina punter Luke Larsen, to the program. Luke, good to see you. How you doing, man?
Good, mate. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Appreciate you coming in here on this Tuesday. And we'll talk punting. We'll talk about you as well. A pretty fascinating story to have you here, Luke, not only in America, but here in Greenville, playing East Carolina football. So can you just tell us about your background, growing up, playing sports, and it's a long gap to fill in, but how you got here today?
Yeah, especially long gap from my age. But you know, in Australia, it's really you got sports and that's it. You know, you either swim or you play contact sports. And I was fortunate enough. I had a grandmother who was a pretty gifted swimmer, so I was pushed into that and swam a lot competitively as a younger kid, and ended up coaching swimming up until I was about 24. But outside of that, I played Australian rules football. So it's not rugby; it's a different sport. I'm sure we can somehow link to it at some point. You know, there's a YouTube video that says "What is AFL?" and that's probably the best way to explain it because it goes through how many players are on the field, how big the field is, basically how to play it. And the difference is that, you know, if you think of Dowdy Ficklin Stadium, and it's the outside of the stadium. That's our pitch. That's the playing surface. And the way that you pass the ball is by kicking it. You can't throw it. There's no, you know, third, fourth, fifth down. It's a continuous game that, you know, the way you score is by kicking it through the two uprights. Now, I was a forward in that sport, but most of the guys in my position are 6'6", and I'm only 6'1.5" on a good day. So it's one of those things that I got to a certain level, you know, practice squad roster guy for 2.5 years and just wasn't good enough. Wasn't tall enough, and, you know, started working. Then you get to the point where, you know, you can't do that anymore because your knees are no good and you're sick of working, and you find out you can go and punt a football. So I started doing that, and, you know, 6 months later I was here at East Carolina.
So where did you come up with that idea? Was that brought to you by someone that, hey, you could go over to the United States and punt?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we were watching, me and my best mate Tom, we were watching, I think it was the Eagles Super Bowl win in 2018, Feb 2018. And he said that he was going to try and do it. And I was like, oh, cool, like, go ahead. You know, I've heard this is the guy you go and speak to. He'll train you up. And then so he goes down and he gets accepted and, you know, finds out he's not eligible. So he, you know, didn't pursue it. And one day we're sitting there and he goes, hey, mate, like, go down and have a kick. Like, you've got a bigger leg than me. Let's go for it. So I went down, I had a kick and got told that, you know, I've got a big enough leg and can make it happen. But wasn't really, like, sold on it. And then one day I was kicking with my mate Tom again, and we ran into a guy that I used to play junior football against, and his name's Cam Johnston. He's the punter for the Steelers now, but he was with the Eagles at the time. And he said, yeah, no, if go for it. Like, his best decision he made once he'd finished professional Australian rules football, and he trained for about 6 to 12 months with Pro Kick Australia, and then he ended up at Ohio State. So he said, give it a go. You know, the worst thing is they can say you're not good enough. So that was really what solidified me wanting to do it. Just knowing that at that age, because you know, we're the same age, we grew up together, that I could then come and do this, and, you know.
Yeah, it's a crazy story. So I guess you did not attend any kind of college, university there, which is why you're eligible here.
Absolutely. Yeah. So straight out of high school, I started working.
Okay, gotcha.
I went straight into transport, worked for 9 or 10 years there. And then decided that I was, you know, going to go back to school and the best option for me was if I punt, I could get a scholarship. So finally get to go to university, and now I'm halfway through my master's.
How often do you think about, like, if you didn't attempt to do this, like what you would be doing right now, how different your life would be in a million ways?
I couldn't even fathom it. And it's not even because of, your life would be different. It's just the world's changed. I got here and COVID happened.
Yeah.
So I've gone home. I've just been home for the last 4 weeks, and just everything's changed. My mates have changed. My family's changed. Even the roads are it's not the same as what they used to be. So it's just one of those things I can't even fathom what I would be doing or how I would even be doing it right now.
Yeah. So you went back home, or are your folks, friends ever able to come over here, and have they been here to see you?
Yeah, no, so no one's been across. This is probably a bit morbid, but COVID hit. We started fall camp in 2020. My mum passed away, so didn't get to go home for the funeral or anything like that. And it's been this has been my life now. But went home, spoke to my mate Tom, spent some time with him, and he's going to come across for the App State game. So
oh, great.
Can't wait for that, because that's going to be, we don't understand the level of what sports are over here, especially at the college level. So for him to come across and he'll get to tailgate, might send him your way. Apparently you know how to tailgate, so we'll go with that, and hopefully he has a good time.
Well, Tom will be a special guest at the Pirate Radio tailgate zone before that game. That'd be awesome. Talking to Luke Larsen, Alex Harper here in the Pirate Radio studios. Alex, you got anything for Luke?
Yeah, you mentioned your friend Tom coming over here and experiencing the atmosphere of college sports in America. Is there any kind of equivalent? Like, is there college athletics in Australia, or is it just high school and then you're done after that?
Yeah, no. So for us, it's like you have high school and you have high school sports. Some schools get right into it. My school was a very good footballing school, Australian rules football. So we did that, and swimming as well, athletics. But we don't have college sports. As soon as you turn 18, you're either professional or you're done, and you finish up. You might play local sports. We have a huge local community engagement program, a lot of local teams, especially in Australian rules football and netball, which is a different sport it's for women over. Well, I'm not going to say just women, but it's predominantly a women's sport in Australia, and that's what we do. Outside of that, it's go and work.
Yeah. You mentioned swimming. I hope I get this right. It was Torpedo? Is he a Australian? Ian Thorpe, yeah. So the Olympics are coming up, and you mentioned swimming, and I know they're very, very strong in that. So how about your swimming, I guess, career? You said you got into it a little bit before you moved on to the physical activity.
Yeah. So my grandmother pushed me for that.
Yeah.
I was all right, freestyle butterfly, but I got to 15, 16, and it was, I had football 3 days a week. I had cricket 2 days a week. I had volleyball. I played volleyball as well. And I was also not too bad at tennis for a minute there.
Man.
So it was just one of those things, like you got to choose what you want to do. And with school and that, I then got my first part-time job was a swimming teacher. So I didn't want to be in the pool 10 hours a day.
Yeah. Cricket is, if we're comparing sports, is that the closest thing to maybe baseball over here,
absolutely.
I guess? Yeah.
So we do have baseball.
Yeah.
One of my friends actually played, 6-7 years with the Twins, mainly in the minors there. But awesome. I met him actually over here in Greenville. But so that there is an avenue there for baseball, but I never knew that we could play it, and I played cricket.
Luke Larsen joining us inside the Pirate Radio studios. So, Luke, how about specifically getting hooked up with East Carolina? You talked about how you kind of got your name out there a little bit with the training and all that. How did you hook up with ECU?
Yeah, so I originally had a school that, was interested and wanted me to come over at a certain time. They then had a turnover of staff. So there was no option for me to then come over as a mid-year. And obviously with my age, I wanted to get over as quickly as possible. Yeah. And, I'd worked all week, I had 12-hour days, and then I was coaching women's football on a Saturday. And then I was DJing Saturday night at the club about an hour and a half away. And I'm almost home, it's 4:30 on a Sunday morning. And I've been, just working for, almost 7 days straight. And I get a text message going, hey, Coach Houston from East Carolina wants to give you a call. Are you up? I'm like, yeah, John, like my coach back home, Johnny. I said, yeah, Johnny, I'm up. What's happening? He goes, he'll call you in 15 minutes. And he was here. He had the specialist camp. It was about 12:30 on a Saturday for you guys over here, but we're 14, 16 hours ahead. And he calls me, he goes, hey, look, we got a spot for you in January if you want to be a pirate. And I couldn't really hear him, the accent, and my ears are ringing still from DJing for 6 hours. And I was like, yeah, I can't wait to get there. And that was the end of the conversation. And I didn't hear again for another 6 months. It was October when I finally got a call from Coach Tesh to say, hey, look, we can't wait to get you here. And so that whole time, I'm still thinking, am I going? What's happening? But It was a quick conversation. It was it was a done deal.
So you came here without ever taking a visit, without knowing what the facilities looked like. It was just a call from Coach Houston. You were like, yeah, I'm good to go.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's a trust thing, and it can be for coaches, can be for anyone. But for me, like especially working for 9 years, and you got truck drivers that you need to trust with some stuff. It's if someone's willing to call and offer you the financial part of it, they're pulling that not out of their pocket, but that's their name. If the coach willing to do that, I'm willing to play for you. And it just happened to work out that now I've got to spend a good 4.5 years so far, about to be my 5th, and hopefully a 6th.
I mean, you're making me tired just talking. It sounds like you had a tremendous work ethic, and we're always doing something. So that's fantastic. I'm curious, Luke, like how does first of all your age, and then you're not from here, how do you kind of fit into the locker room? How's everybody around you and things like that? Is it awkward? Is it different?
When I first came in, I came with Rajay and all those guys, and they were pumped that we had this Australian guy, even without me being 408 years old. So it was good because you felt accepted. But then also there's things like they got a group Snapchat and they're going and doing stuff that I did 10 years ago. I didn't want to be a part of it.
Right.
So it's one of those things that it kind of marries up there that they probably don't want to get caught by the old guy doing some
young people stuff,
questionable young people stuff, but we'll go with that. And but it's been good. Like now we have guys come in and they're like, oh, we've got a guy that sounds funny, and it's one of those things that there's only 2 guys that have been there longer than me, Chad and Hampton Ergel, and then it's myself, Rajay, and Tay came 6 months later. So it's one of those things, you've been there for so long, you're almost part of the furniture.
No doubt. Luke Larsen joining us, Pirate Radio Studios. Luke, I ask everybody that comes in here about the 2-10 last year, and does it motivate you? What does it do for this upcoming season? How do you kind of look back at last year? Obviously not what you or Coach Houston or any fans or anybody wanted. So, how do you turn that around?
Yeah, the way that I look at it, especially from a specialist point of view, is you can only control what you can control. And I'm here, I've got a job to do, I've got to do my part. If I'm doing that as best as I can, and we end up 2-10, like there's other parts to this team that they're going to try and do their best to make that happen. And then you have times where you might not perform as well as you're supposed to, and that attributes to a 2-10. And all you can do is just continually look at yourself, look in the mirror, make sure you're doing everything, and hope that you pull enough guys along that it, hopefully turns to a 10-2.
For a pass to be completed, you need the O-line, you need the quarterback, you need the receiver. For a punt to be executed, it's not just you, it's this guy here, Alex Harper, snapping it to you. So we always see receivers and quarterbacks throwing. How many snaps do you think you take from Alex, like in the off season? Is that something you guys are doing a lot of?
Yeah, so currently we've got 3 days a week.
Yeah, about it.
Yeah, about 3 days a week where we probably get 30 snaps each just for a live operation. But then we've also got field goals, so we're doing 30, 40 snaps of that as well. So part of it comes down to you can't make Alex do too much, because we're going to get to the end of fall camp and he's going to be absolutely cooked, forearms, shoulders, whatever it is. You can only expect so much from a guy, but that's where it comes in handy if you have 4 guys, 4 snappers like we have at the moment, to get those extra reps. And that may not be a full operation, but it's at least getting a part of it down right. And I would say there's probably 120, 130 snaps per week.
Yeah, and Coach Powell, I think, mentioned this when he joined us last week about not wearing out the kickers and the punters as well. So you want to get the legs stronger and all that, but also you don't want to wear yourself out too, right?
Yes, sir. We're 4 weeks away from fall camp, 3 weeks. It's one of those things, if you don't have the leg strength now, you're not going to get it during camp.
Yeah.
So that's where we need to take on that, idea that we're not just college students, we're supposed to be professional. we are supposed to do our job, and if we're not doing it now, we're not going to expect it to magically happen. So a lot of our stuff is based on our training prior to getting to college, but then also being able to use certain instances that happen during practice and whatnot to improve your game.
Luke Larsen, Alex Harper joining us. Alex, you're good?
Yeah.
Okay, you're just enjoying the interview?
Yeah.
All right, good. Luke, I want to ask you about yourself a little bit, and I guess home life before you came over here. I'm just curious, what are the delicacies? Like, what do you like to eat over there? What's different about food over here?
So our bakeries, we have sausage rolls, meat pies, vegetable pasties. Someone might need to look that up, what they actually look like, but it's just one of those things that I go home and I just annihilate them every chance that I can get, because it's just not the same over here. There's obviously some cafes and that try and emulate it, but it's just different.
Yeah.
So baked goods is, probably my downfall.
My wife complains about that. I guess she's from the Jersey, Philly kind of area, and she says we need more bakeries around here. But and she always talks about that. How about as far as entertainment goes? You mentioned DJing, so what's kind of like pop culture over in Australia? Like what's like, I don't know. We got our TV shows and our movies and our rock stars over here. Like what's popular there?
Well, we have all the similar stuff. It's just on a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
We have two like soap opera shows that have been running for like 30 something years, or where Margot Robbie and Chris Hemsworth, they all started there.
Okay.
So we have that, but it's really just like a stepping stone. And we got Coach Houston. He's been missing me, I think.
Coach Houston, specialists need attention too, and we're giving it to him here on Pirate Radio. I believe Coach Houston will be on this week's episode of the Whole Naylor Show, so check that out. So yeah, who are the big stars here that came from Australia? Like who are the?
Yeah, like Margot Robbie.
Yeah, you
Chris
mentioned
Hemsworth. I really don't know. We've got in a few different sports, like Scotty James, who is one of the best snowboarders in the world through the X Games. Like his cousin actually punted for Coach Houston at JMU. So
oh wow,
there's a lot of these people that you just don't even realise. And to think off the top of my head, I wouldn't even know which ones are from Australia. It's just I know them through what they've done.
Going back, I think with Andrew Bogut, is he Australian?
Yeah,
Does that make sense? That's a long time ago. Shirley has a question. What do you got, Shirley? You want to ask it? Or you want me? Yeah. Shirley wants to know: does Luke like Vegemite?
Absolutely. Got a jar at home. I think Alex. I don't know if we roomed together. We lived together last year. I don't know if he tried my secret stash or not.
I never got to.
You got to. You just didn't. What do you mean you never got to?
Never had the opportunity.
I don't want to share it.
I don't.
Oh, okay. There you go. Shirley, are you a fan? You are not a fan. All right, fair enough. Well, something for everybody out there. Luke Larsen joining us here in the Pirate Radio studios. So, Luke, how about a new special teams coach? And you've been away, but obviously you've been around. So, does that change a lot for you and what you do? Is that
No. 2 years ago, it would have changed a lot for me. I would have been trying to, make sure I pleased him and what he's trying to achieve. Whereas now I can recognise everything is, they still want the same goal. You want you to kick it as high and as far as you possibly can to the spot they want it. So I think now it's more just realising that, I have to do my job, and my job is, again, just kick it as high and as far as possible to, the spot that we're covering. So as long as I do that, as long as I am not a distraction, I take care of my stuff in the classroom. We're always early for meetings. It's just do what you have to do, and your coach will love you for it. He'll never tell you, but that's the way it goes for us.
So a couple years ago, we were playing against SMU. You caught a snap and you pulled it and you ran for a first down. What's a better feeling, running a fake and getting that first down, or pinning a team down at their own one?
I think the best feeling was Charlotte last year. We punted it down. They dropped it on the 10, and I think Kingston McKinstry may have picked it up, and you were right there hugging him, pulling him into the end zone. And that was a pretty cool feeling, running down the field, but everyone was already 30 yards ahead of me. I was running by myself looking like an idiot. So, that was a good feeling, but it was weird to watch back on film.
Yeah, punting is interesting because you make a good play, you have a good kick, you're by yourself. There's no one to even high five, so that's kind of funny to think about.
How many tackles do you have credit for, Luke? Do you have any?
No.
Not a one?
So I've been lucky. I haven't had many returns. This past season, I had 2 long ones that I'd like to take back, but the returner from Tulane made me look pretty stupid last year. But I was happy. I got up to the other. So we kicked it from 16 or something, and I got up to the other opposite 45, and was able to slow him down for D Nash or someone to knock him out of bounds.
Yeah.
But I looked like I was a fish out of water on that one.
Physical guy, maybe just I don't know, need to get in the speed room or something. I don't know.
It was more in my head. I heard Coach Dowse saying, do this, do this, do this, instead of just going and tackling him. Doing what I've done for 20 years.
Correct. Do you you want to keep play? You've lived like 4 lives already, it seems like. But what do you want to do after this? You want to keep trying to punt?
After college, no, I don't. My knees are pretty shot. I'm making sure that I perform my best at this level, and post that, I know I've got to work.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. I came here to get an education, to get a better job than what I had.
Awesome.
My old man and my brother are running, the transport company we had back home, and they're doing quite well with that. So it's one of those things. I can go home and do that, but I'll try and stay over here. I love it over here. I've been here for almost 5 years, and this is home. Everything's changed back home, and I love this place.
So you've got a degree. You said working on a master's, right?
Yeah.
What's that in?
So I did my undergrad in industrial distribution logistics, which was kind of natural for me. Now I'm doing my master's at business administration.
Great.
I graduate from that in the spring, and then I have eligibility for next season. So what I'll do is if Coach Houston gives me a tap on the shoulder and says, "Hey, we'd like you to stay," then I would love to do that, and I'll add a finance certificate to that MBA, and then from that it's working out what job I can get. If I can get a job, in the research triangle, if I can get a job in Greenville, anyone, any alum wants to give me a job, I'd love that. And or you go where the money is, and as long as that keeps me in America, I'm happy to do so.
Great. You said so. What kind of research did you do going back to that little 6-month span where you talked to Coach Houston and then you got the word from Coach Tesh, "Hey, we're ready"? Did you look online? Like, what did you know about Greenville and ECU before you got here?
Yeah, so I didn't get much of Greenville. I was really just honing in on ECU football.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a good record back then, and but
you
trust the coach. You trust the coach that's been hired. You trust the people that have hired that person, and they're putting trust in you by bringing you over. So it was one of those things. It's like I had to hone in on my craft. It was 4 days a week with Pro Kick Australia, making sure that I was ready once I got over here, and get over here and start workouts and learn a whole new system that you're not used to, 'cause as a 27-year-old or whatever I was. You're coming in with 18-year-old kids, and you got someone like Big John, who's now probably one of the people that I put the most respect towards and trust in. At the time, treated me like everyone else, and I didn't know how to handle that. I injured my foot and injuries here and there, and it's just one of those things that I'd never trained like I trained when I first got here. But that's something that I would have liked to have had more of an idea of, and I don't know, Alex might be able to help me out with this one, but when do people over here start playing American football? What age?
I feel like there's a wide range. Some people start, I think you can start playing tackle football when you're 6, but some guys start later. But
yeah,
the game of football is probably available to you around the age of 6 or 7.
Yeah, and so if you think about that, I've really had these knockoff helmet and pads that we bought off eBay that I used for 6 months. My first ever game that I'd even seen live was the first game against UCF that I played in.
Wow.
So it's one of those things. I've played now for 4.5 years, whereas there's people that come in at 18 that have played 10 years longer than me. So I'm so new to it that I wouldn't even, at the time, didn't even know what to research.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's funny looking at it like that. In fact, I was a little taken aback when we talked to Anthony Smith last week, and he said his first organized contact football was his junior year of high school, which is really late for a D1 athlete. So for you to get into it even later than that is kind of crazy. We'll wrap it up here with Luke Larsen. Robert says, I guess he's coming in late. Correct that you played Australian rules football or rugby? You played Australian rules football, and is that closer to American football than rugby? Or
Rugby's almost the most similar to
Rugby's okay.
is most similar to American football, whereas Australian rules football is everything put into one on a massive field.
Gotcha. 10-4. Anything else, Alex?
Yeah, Luke, before we go, we're spending a lot of our time right now training, working out, and practicing football. What do you like to do outside of football in your free time when you don't have a pair of cleats on?
Yeah, I do old man stuff. I walk my dog and I play a lot of golf. So that's really all I can do. It's I like to think I'm all right at golf. I know I'm not that good, but I keep pestering Coach Houston. I wish he was here at the window now. I'd challenge him to a round, but try and make him, make it happen. He's been saying it for 2 years. So me, it's a lot of golf. I always bring you out whenever you can come out when these guys aren't taking the free labor. But I love it. I love the courses around here. I love Eastern North Carolina, and it's working out for me at my age.
Alex is a big free labor guy here, Greenville Little League. You just love to commit your time for nothing, Alex.
For nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, Alex is a great guy, and I like to try and give him a nickname. So his nickname with me is Harpoon, and he's a lethal weapon.
That's cool.
Yeah, so this is Harpoon.
Slinging that ball back there like a harpoon.
Absolutely, and then running down the field and knocking people's helmets off. It's just an animal.
We're going to do more of that this year.
My 2 assisted tackles.
Yeah, we're going to get more tackles this year. Luke, been a pleasure, man. One thing I wanted to mention, too, I've seen you at basketball games. I assume you've been out to other sports. So have you your college life is going to be different than a lot of folks, but have you enjoyed that part of it? Kind of the social stuff, going to games, stuff like that?
Yeah, so I know you're trying to wrap this up. This is probably a long-winded story, but people don't understand. In Australia, we have high school and you go professional. We don't have an allegiance to a university. We don't have that type of system. So I come over here, this has been my life. East Carolina is something that I'm always going to, no matter the result, no matter how bad I am or how good I am, this is my home. So I love going to the basketball games. I try and get out to baseball whenever I can. Whatever sport that's going on, it's just this is my home club. This is all I've got. So it's one of those things that I enjoy that part of it. I don't really go downtown. As you mentioned, I DJ'd for 10 years in clubs that had 10, 15,000 people coming through it on a night. And so if I go downtown to one of these clubs or bars, it's a little bit boring unless I'm drinking too much alcohol, and I can't be doing that when I've got the knees of a 60-year-old. So it's one of those things. I love this place. I love the idea of going to the basketball. I love hanging out and playing golf with Alex, and
great.
It's great to be here.
That's awesome, man. Luke Larsen joining us. Have a great season, Luke. Good to catch up with you, and appreciate you joining us today, man.
Cheers, man.
All right. Well, actually, Alex, can you start a new stream for us? Because we're going to talk to Rich Shea at 2:00.
Yeah.
Can you knock this one out and do that? And then we'll be with you live coming up at 3 on Pirate Radio Live. Thank you, Luke.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Just one of those things I can't even fathom what I would be doing or how